So today we'll be talking about the Nazi Seizure of Power by William Sheridan Allen. Many historians argue that the Weimar Republic was set up to fail from the start due to the Socialist Party having to assume all of the war guilt of World War I, as well as a nation full of disappointed Germans who felt as if their victory was stolen from them rather than just accepting their defeat in the war. Not soon after the Weimar Republic was born, Germany and much of the world fell into the Great Depression, which affected the political atmosphere of the country. Allen's text looks at the town of Northeim in central Germany to look at just how Germany went from the Weimar Republic to Nazi Germany on a small-scale level. The main political parties in Northeim were the leftist Social Democratic and the Communist parties, being the SPD and KPD, or the far-rightist Nazi Party. The SPD, or Social Democratic Party, was committed to furthering the Weimar Republic. It favored democracy and pushed to make the institutions and economy of the Weimar Republic more egalitarian. The KPD, or Communist Party, opposed the Weimar Republic as well as the Social Democratic Party, despite being leftist as well. The other parties feared the rise of the Communist Party due to seeing the results of the Russian Revolution. As the Great Depression prolonged and the Weimar Republic weakened, the party gained strength from the growing number of unemployed Germans and became more of an issue to other parties, especially the SPD. The Nazis were the far-right political party that vehemently opposed democracy, the Weimar Republic, and supported a unified Germany with a society based on race rather than class, with the idea that Jews were not a part of this unified German society. The Nazis did not start as overly anti-Semitic in Northeim, as many Northeimers were not anti-Semites themselves. Allen describes the class structure of Northeim as mainly comprised of an exceedingly strong petite bourgeois. Many of the workers of Northeim supported the SPD, and all classes had their own social clubs. So then the question becomes, how did the Nazis appeal to such a town? Well, the Nazis were extremely successful in playing upon the fears of the many, fears of which were heightened by the economic depression. Northeim itself was not heavily impacted by the Great Depression. Quoting the book from the book, Allen writes, "The more Northeimers became concerned with the Depression, the more they curtailed their consumption in favor of savings. The Depression thus affected their emotion more than their pocketbooks, and if spending in Northeim fell, it was not because the middle class was hurt. It was because they were hoarding their cash. The two groups hurt by the Depression were the small artisans connected with construction and the workers. Despair was bound to register politically, even in the working class with its solid ties to democracy. Voters, having lived through war and economic hardship, desired above all stability and order, which the Nazis, being dramatically different from the SPD, offered. It was this fear of economic depression in Northeim, as well as combating the rise of communism and a general lack of understanding by both the SPD, KPD, and even the general public, that gave the Nazis this rise to power. The Nazi Party was all about activism. The party held meetings that were devoted to various classes such as artisans, businessmen, civil servants, and other target groups, especially the Lutheran Church, which was the main religion of Northeim. They would have Lutheran speakers at some of these meetings, which sent the public the message that if Lutheran leaders are for the Nazis, then so should they. Propaganda also had a huge impact on the image of the Nazi Party. People felt drawn to the Nazis by seeing the swastika or Nazi pamphlets everywhere they went, giving them the sense that the Nazis were a strong party. This propaganda was especially attractive to the younger men and women of Northeim. The Nazis became powerful, fighting for what they believed in, oftentimes literally, in the form of the SA, a subgroup of the Nazis, beating up members and followers of the SPD and Communist Party, which was appealing to a lot of people because, yes, even though it was radical, it was also patriotic to take action to change what they felt was wrong with the country and government. With such activism, Nazi gains had come at the expense of the smaller parties of the center and the moderate right, which was the DNVP. Many citizens believed that all these parties were just not radical enough in stomping out Marxism, which again was a huge fear, especially in the middle class. Once Hitler came to power, the Nazis knew not everyone was a supporter or sympathizer of the Nazi Party, so they had to slowly infiltrate everyday life on the town level if the big ideas, such as the final solution that the Nazis had, was to form. Allen calls this the atomization of society. First, in Northeim, they started with the town's administration, cleansing various administrative positions, such as the city council, until the Nazis had complete control over it. Allen next describes the Nazi efforts at social hegemony by dealing with social clubs and economic organizations. Either the organization was Nazified by accepting a Nazi leader, or it was broken up altogether because the appeal of the club was destroyed, where this was the case, was mostly the case, and people then just stayed at home. This withdrawal was okay to the Nazis because it removed threats to the new system. By 1935, it did not matter how Northeimers felt about the Nazis. There was essentially nothing they could do about it because their local government, as well as all their clubs and organizations, were completely controlled by the Nazi Party. However, there were positives to the Nazi seizure of power in Northeim. One example is the Depression was ended by a means of public work projects, so the economy was saved, and it also, these public work projects did help in the beautification of the town, and new construction was given to the town. To wrap all this up, I'm going to finish with a quote from the book. I think Allen does a really great job of summing his long-winded book up into one sentence. So on page 277, he writes, along with the growing nationalism and increasing impatience over the Depression, violence and political tension were significant factors in preparing the town for the Nazi takeover. There was a lack of understanding from all the parties and people at just how radical the Nazis would be, but like Allen says, it's this progression of violence as well as local government takeover that allowed the Nazis to implement such horrific plans. That's all I got.